Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday. This is our last Samhain planning video for this year, for the Samhain season of 2021, because Sunday, the day is finally upon us. So we've really got to start making sure we've got everything arranged so that we can have the ritual that we want. Now, last month for Mabon, I suggested a variety of ideas for ritual celebrations, and I divided up into categories, individual practitioners, family circles, covens, and larger communal gatherings. But for Samhain, I want to really focus on individual practitioners. First and foremost, because most of us are solitary. We work by ourselves, and so everything does need to be tailored around that fact. Second, those of us who do celebrate the Sabbats with our families or have covens probably already have their own established traditions. And for three, Halloween celebrations are still enough of a community event to satisfy a need to come together with other people and mark the occasion. Granted, for people who just celebrate Halloween, there is not the same kind of spiritual depth as it is for those of us who are also celebrating Samhain and just kind of incorporate the layer of Halloween as part of our modern existence, but still it is giving us some of those. I am connected to a larger community. I am a member of something, not just completely atomized and on my own. But when it comes to the spiritual aspects of our celebrations, a lot of us are atomized. We are by ourselves. But the advantage of this is that we can plan a ritual just for ourselves, and we can really hone in not only on what Samhain means to us personally, but specifically what it has meant to us during this particular season. We're not the same from year to year, and a solitary ritual enables us to acknowledge that, especially at Samhain when we lay to rest that which is past and the new that is about to be brought into the world, especially if there's been a lot of changes and upheaval of our lives, if we've been going through some kind of transformation. Samhain is the time to acknowledge that. So let's begin with taking a look at our own circumstances. Where are we right now? Not where would we like to be, not where we were. Where are we now this year? Because Samhain is one of those times when the mirror gets just held up to our souls, and it's all we can see. So let's make the most of that. Let's make as objective an assessment of ourselves, our relationships, our lives, and our spirituality as what we are capable of doing. Obviously, objectivity in general is extremely difficult for any human to even come close to the mark for that. And when we're looking at ourselves, it's even more difficult, but let's take that up as a challenge. We can get something out of it. Because this process isn't about guilt or blame or making a list of things that we meant to do and probably should have done. This is just about acknowledging reality and calling things by their right names and then taking appropriate reaction. This isn't about beating ourselves up. It's just about looking at what is. So after we do this self-checkup, then take a look at the themes of Samhain. Is there one theme that's especially relevant in your life this year? Perhaps you lost a relative in the preceding months and you want to give them a proper send-off as they pass through the veil. Or you could be working with a new deity, and that's taking your practice into a new direction. Samhain would be a time to acknowledge that developing and growing relationship. Or if it was a particularly challenging year overall, and you're just craving the rest and the quiet of winter to get a little bit of psychological space and have a little less demands on you. Whatever the case may be, build your ritual around what is actually going on in your life. You are not a faceless, generic pagan or witch. You are an individual. You are an individual, and your spirituality should be tailored to the things that pertain to your spirit. So let's look at symbolism for a moment. Obviously, we should only be using symbolism that actually has meaning for us. It's a little bit different when we're in a group setting because then there are certain conventions and you're trying to make things relevant for everyone. So it's going to be a little bit more general rather than specific. But when you're on your own, you can be specific. So place your gods at the center, whatever pantheon you're working with. These are the deities with whom you have a relationship. And every pantheon has at least one member that presides over death and the afterlife, usually more. So it's fitting to show honor to these personages at this time. Why should you be, hailing some god of a pantheon that you're really not connected to when you could be looking at the gods of your own pantheon who do relate to this season, at least about, its general themes and what it's about, and honor them? It just doesn't make sense. Next, colors, herbs, flowers, incense, crystals, animals, food, drinks, offerings, and any decor on the altar. It should revolve around the symbols common to the pantheon you're working with and anything that has special significance to you. For example, the use of pumpkins. Most of us have pumpkins decorating the house. Some people use pumpkin things in the altar or bake pumpkin themed things for the feast. But the reality is pumpkins are native to North America, and so obviously they were not used in worship of deities who were across the pond in ancient times. But pumpkins are now so inseparable from seasonal celebrations, you know, for Samhain and for Halloween. It just makes sense to incorporate them into our rituals because it means something to us. It just wouldn't be quite the same if we didn't have our pumpkin, or at the very least a jack-o'-lantern. Another thing is to make use of our own UPGs, which is unverified personal gnosis, our own little private epiphanies that we've had over the course of our practice. Because over time, we all develop ideas that have been shaped as much by our experiences as they have been our studies. And the things we connect and have come to realize, it's not necessarily universal. And oftentimes, it's more of a reflection of how our relationship with a particular deity has developed. So, a private solitary ritual is an opportunity to indulge our UPGs, and this is part of what makes a practice truly personal. It isn't necessary to attempt to convert the masses. That's a fool's errand right there. But just realize that certain things are really special just to ourselves, and that's perfectly fine. Different gods have different relationships with different people. I mean, for example, it's just like a human relationship. You know this person, and let's say you're friends with them, but they're also friends with that other person over there. Well, their relationship and their friendship, how it develops, and the energy exchange, it's going to be different than what it is between this person and you. It's because you're different individuals. You are blending together in different ways, and there's nothing wrong with that. It works in a very similar way with the gods. So, solitary ritual ideas. I came up with quite a few. Obviously, these aren't the only things that it's possible to do or acceptable to do, but it's just a few ideas that I want to toss out there because they're within the realm for an individual to do. The first is a tea party with the gods and or the ancestors. This is an adaptation of rituals that I've heard of people use to try to get to know deities that they think are reaching out to them, and also kind of a variation on the idea of having a dumb supper. One of the traditions during Samhain is that if you do have gods or relatives from beyond who are coming to pay you a visit, it's the idea of leaving them offerings, but also talking to them or talking in the presence of them, getting them caught up on the major events that have gone on during your year and what it's meaning for you and the developments in the family and everything else. And I like the idea of doing this with a tea party. And you can use tea or you can use coffee or whatever drink that is specific to you. You can bring some kind of snack. I do recommend making something yourself homemade, but if your cooking skills are rudimentary, to say the best, just bring something that shows your regard for who you're trying to invite, whether it's a deity or whether it's your deceased ancestors. And set the table out. We sit down, get comfortable, get kind of in a meditative state of mind, and then just talk to them. Converse. Just tell them what's going on. Tell them what you appreciate from them, what you have learned from them. Ask for guidance or direction if you want to. This might be a good time to keep, your tarot deck or your runes or your ogham or whatever divinatory tool that you use close by. That way, if you feel a nudge and you feel like they're wanting to communicate back with you, they have a way in which to do that. For the more modern of us, and for those who are more technologically comfortable, this might be actually a pretty good use of a spirit box. Just, do your usual precautions you would do with anything else. But it is a possible method to have more direct communication. Now, another ritual idea is making an effort to go tidy the grave sites of relatives, or to be a public volunteer to maintain neglected cemeteries. It shows great respect for those who have deceased, because these are meant to be, the resting places for their physical forms. And so making sure that those remain in good order and that they're attractive. You could make food, drink, and floral offerings. It's just a way of saying you still matter. You are still connected with the community. We can't see you, but you are still impacting us, and we are still impacting you. And there is something that's very sad about a graveyard that hasn't been properly tended to, and just have the sense of people being forgotten, and just giving a gesture, even if it's just a small gesture. Let's say there are still some wildflowers blooming in your area. Picking those wildflowers, laying them on the grave, and simply saying, "I acknowledge that you're here." That, wherever your spirit has drifted off to, that this is kind of a point of contact. You are here and you matter. That's a powerful thing to do. Samhain is also a good time to have witchy New Year's resolutions, because this is the dawn of our spiritual new year. And with resolutions, because it is it is such a meme that it's just a question of how long before people break their resolutions and all their good intentions come to nothing. Uh, it would be probably a good idea to incorporate into your ritual not only stating what your resolutions are and what you hope to achieve in the coming year, but also to dedicate yourself and have some means of holding yourself accountable. Maybe telling someone, a good friend, saying, "If I'm not doing X, Y, or Z, you have my full permission to nag me. In fact, I'll even put this in writing. So when I get aggravated about you nagging me later on, you can say, 'Nope, you told me to. I've got a piece of paper that says it.'" This is all to help you not go back on your word. And this is becoming more and more important to me, because so many things that have gone wrong in the world and in people's personal lives, you can trace it back to somewhere. Maybe the individual themselves or other people in their lives did not uphold their world, did not uphold their end of a bargain, and it just created messes. So uh, just working on that in of itself, say what you mean what you say, do what you say you're going to do. Something to think about. A fourth possible ritual is to just make the whole ritual about divination for the coming year, and just getting an idea of what kind of developments you can expect to see on the horizon. There's a lot of 12-month spreads out there that you can just look it down, make notes, and just see what develops and see how things go on. And you might review it quarterly, because even if something seemed like the most likely course, say it's Samhain, there could have been other developments that affect the situation, say, come January. And then you realize, okay, things are developing slightly differently. Let me check in and look ahead then. And it's just a way of kind of keeping tabs on what direction the tide is going in. See, fifth ritual is having kind of an out with the old and in with the new. Release what no longer serves you and celebrate a new phase in your life. I have found that it helps if I'm wanting to improve my state of mind. It helps if I improve the state of my physical surroundings. Hello, Calliope. Oh, he went away. I was going to show you a cute cat, and she just ran away. No cooperation. No cooperation at all. Anyway, we were talking about using our physical surroundings as a means to start creating internal change. I have found that if things have gotten disorganized, or I've overstuffed a closet, or whatever else I've done, I have found that emptying that out, deciding what needs to stay, what can go, what can be given away, and then at the end of it having, this clean, organized space, I find it very, very calming. And it actually helps me just, organize my internal files as well. And to realize, that certain things in life have changed. And, maybe I don't need to hang on to this physical object because it's no longer useful to me, or I no longer consider it beautiful. So maybe I have an idea in my head in which I need to undergo a similar process. And we can make a conscious effort to do this. And especially if you're trying to put to bed some of your past trauma, or just things that have been dragging you down, or Old relationships that you're just wondering, why is this person even still in my orbit? We have nothing in common. We don't enjoy each other's company. We never seem to have a good effect upon one another. Just letting things go and letting the past go into the past. Not every person we encounter, not everything we do is meant to last for our entire lifetimes. Sometimes it is there just for a specific purpose or for a specific season in our lives, and then it is done. When it's done, let's let it be done. Instead of trying to resurrect things constantly that have, it's time for them to just be laid to rest. Why don't we redirect our energy and redirect it in a direction of making something that can grow for us? And that's, this is one of the things that makes the aging process so brutal, is because so often people, they're so busy maintaining what is that they forget that it's time to let other things fall away, that they're no longer in the same phase of their life, and that means they can embrace new and different things. When people stop evolving, they stop living, and then they're just existing. And then you have people who are just, life. And there you can see they're just waiting for old age and then for death to come along and take them. We can make a conscious effort to not fall into that trap. And having these rituals where we acknowledge what is past and we are actively embracing the new is one way to do that. Now let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sixth idea. Make offerings to the Fae. This is a very busy time for them. They're going back and forth through the veil just for the heck of it. And there are legends in which the Unseelie court is taking over for the Seelie court. So making some offerings to placate them so that they don't see you as a target is probably a wise thing to do. The Fae are touchy at the best of times, and the ones that are determined to be in a bad mood are even more so. So leaving some offerings for them, especially if you have interactions with them on a regular basis or you just feel like they're around, you could probably save yourself some trouble there. Seventh idea, candle magic. That is if you're not able to have a private bonfire. Candle magic is really good. I also like using candle magic at Samhain because it also symbolizes, at least in my own head, the hope of the light that is going to return at Yule. You can also do spells that attract prosperity through the winter months, as well as good health, because there's always an expected seasonal uptick in illness during the winter. And just, there are things you can do with it that symbolizes the life, symbolizes purification, symbolizes prosperity, health, all things that are going to be important in the coming season. Eighth idea, because if you've done any research on Samhain or Halloween, you'll notice that a lot of the divination methods have to do with finding your spouse or finding a new romantic love. And if you are looking for a romance, or you are open for the idea of, you would like at some point to settle down and marry, performing rituals to attract love into your life are actually appropriate to do at Samhain. I know it might seem a little counterintuitive if you're still relatively new to the craft, but trust me, this is an opportune moment for that. And our ninth and the last suggestion I have for this is to create a sacred space, go into a deep meditative state, as deep as you can go, and ask for wisdom, and then journal later on about any nudges that you might have received during this meditation. Sometimes we aren't needing, dramatic results from our spells or, revelations from our gods. Maybe we just need some kitchen table common sense advice. And whether that's coming from any ancestors that we might be able to connect with at Samhain, or our deities or spirit guides of any kind, maybe we just need that of, how can I live my life with greater wisdom? Because we get to a certain age, we've accumulated some knowledge, we have accumulated some experience, but those in and of themselves, they don't necessarily grant us wisdom. It's about taking our knowledge and our experiences and applying them and understanding how they fit in to the larger pattern of life. That is where wisdom is born. And so asking for wisdom, asking, what is the proper direction for my life to take, or the proper direction for my craft, it shows humility, for one, and it also shows that you are willing to work towards development and you're just wanting a little bit of direction so that you can. So those are just my ideas. If you like them, you use any of these, I would love to hear about your experience. You are very welcome to come visit us at Blackbird's Brew on Discord. There's a link in the description box below where you can just click on it and you can join our group. And of course, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a comment. But that's it for now. Next time I discuss Samhain will be on Samhain itself. Haven't quite decided what I'm going to say yet, but it's been a very rewarding season, so stay tuned for that. But for now, bye-bye.